So I'm going to be doing a hand stencil design. Now, as you can see, I am going to be taking out the tracing paper that comes with the thermocopier paper, simply because I have already traced my design onto a slightly thicker bit of tracing paper, and I'm going to be using that to draw on top of and transfer my design over to the carbon paper. So all I've done is I've taken a reference photo, I've used some tracing paper to trace over it, and now I am stenciling directly on top of the carbon paper, and then the pressure that I use will transfer the design over to the stencil paper. Now you need to make sure that you are using an even pressure. This design is small enough for me to hold down. However, I would also recommend that you can tape down your design as well in order to stop it from moving, especially if it's a much larger design and you might have to go back to it. So tracing over nice and evenly, making sure that you keep the stencil nice and still, will give you a nice even transfer. So a tip and something to think about is whether you will actually need to flip your design in order that it comes out the correct way when you're transferring it onto the stencil. Anything like script or wording, letters, but also if you have a design that needs to be in a particular direction, you will need to look at flipping your design. Obviously, when you're using things like a thermocopier, you do have the mirror option so that when it prints out, it will print out the way that you want it to be when it's being tattooed. But for things like this, such as a butterfly, any kind of symmetrical designs, you don't have to think too much about it. The great thing about doing a hand stencil is that you will have practiced your design at least 2 to 3 times before ever tattooing someone with it. So it is really good for muscle memory, it is really good for repetition, and it is great if you are building up practice for your line work, because you will have gone over that design and over those lines and practiced it enough before you start tattooing it.